few years back, I received an email from someone. It was an older lady, very sweet, very excited. She believed she had won several $1 million, and this email just told her that all she had to do to collect this prize money was send a small payment, a couple $1,000s, to the company that she'd won this money from, and she'd claim her prize. I still remember the feeling and the anxiety I had knowing I had to call her the next day and tell her this was not legitimate. This was a scam. And I could hear the disappointment in her voice, Heath. The resignation.
Hopefully she hadn't spent that couple $1 million.
Followed quickly by relief, a small measure of relief or appreciation that she had checked and hadn't yet sent that money in. Can you spot the red flags?
Me?
In this scenario? Yes.
Oh, yeah, the fact that you had to send money to the place first.
Any others?
No.
That the offer may have been too good to be true.
Well, yes.
Another one.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of these out there, and this is what we want to talk about today. A lot of these schemes, internet schemes or scams, very common. And, we often see them and wanted to take some time to talk about what to look for, what to spot, what to be aware of, and some steps or action items that can be taken to prevent yourself from falling into this situation, from sending money to the Nigerian prince who's going to send you $12 million for helping him out.
Nice person.
Yeah. So
But one of probably the most common one we see are the IRS scam, where the IRS, Internal Revenue Service, is not scamming you, but instead people are posing as IRS agents and threatening, with very threatening phone calls saying that we'll call the police if you don't pay us right now, and they'll ask for all sorts of odd forms of payment, gift cards, cryptocurrency is probably one that's coming up a little more frequently now. And so, one good rule of thumb is that there are very, very few and a small number of instances where the Internal Revenue Service is actually going to call you.
They will. There are scenarios where they will, but they are very few and far between.
And it's only after they've likely sent you multiple pieces of correspondence in the mail.
Yeah. So go ahead. What are some of these scenarios where you may receive a call, likely after many attempts or notices in the mail have come to you?
Overdue tax bill, if they're looking to secure a tax return that has not been filed, or some sort of delinquent employment tax payment, or if you're being audited your business, either just in the normal capacity of an audit or for a criminal investigation, they may call to set up a time to tour the operation. But again, I can't stress it enough, that's typically only after you have received multiple pieces of mail from them in which they are indicating that you have some things going on.
And also, none of those cases should be a surprise. If you have an overdue tax bill, you should know, or likely would know, you have not paid a tax bill. And that could be either you did your own return and can go check and verify that, or call your accountant. Hey, did my taxes get taken care of? And they can tell you. Some of the other scenarios would be if you're a business owner, employment tax, or the audit of a business. So in any of those cases, you would have likely received many notices in the mail. The IRS is not, or the Federal Reserve, neither of these organizations will ever demand a specific form of payment.
Not prepaid debit cards?
No, and this is something that's very common. Anyone who is looking to scam you or send a fraudulent email asking for money wants something that cannot be easily traced. So a credit card payment, easily traced, can easily be disputed and refunded. Gift cards, very difficult to track them. Prepaid money cards or prepaid Visa cards, those are very difficult to track. And cryptocurrency can be difficult to track as well. So that is why those are often the forms of payment accepted. The IRS is never going to ask for your debit card information over the phone.
Right.
That is something that is not going to happen. Nor will they demand immediate payment. That's something that is very, very common in these scenarios, is there is urgency.
Yeah.
You have to make this payment today or you will be arrested.
Nor will they threaten to bring in the local police or immigration officers, which we've heard in the past from some of these scams.
Yeah, and you see it all the time. I look at the Brighton police blotter, and you'll see it often that there is someone was threatened with being arrested if they did not provide gift cards to this person. This is very common, but if you just take a second, take a breath, or just hang up the phone, take a breath, talk to someone that you trust before taking any action, you can prevent some of these actions. Another one that's very common, and in our business, we see this all the time.
Emails.
And you see attempts. You get them all the time.
Yeah.
Emails. We spend a lot of time trying to educate ourselves about this, and to spot the attempts that are made on us. But this is very common with just about anyone that has an email address.
Like that your grandchild has been arrested in some foreign country, and in order to be released, they demand some very quick method of payment to get them out. Oftentimes, if you call your grandchild, you will find that they are not in that foreign country.
Right. And that is actually a specific circumstance that happened here.
Times, yeah.
And one of the reasons that if you were to want to withdraw money from one of your investment accounts, we ask that you do not email us about that. But if you must, send the email.
Expect a phone call.
Expect a phone call or expect an email back saying, sounds good, please give me a call so I can confirm this. And that is because we see these requests all the time. Sometimes it's from an email account that's been hacked. Sometimes your name has been used on a separate email address. Very common.
Well, that's one of the biggest giveaways, the email address.
Yes.
Now, they are getting much more creative and, just moving around a letter or two, maybe what would normally show up as a Gmail address would show up as MGAL. Just transposing a couple of the letters there. And so really looking at the email address, not necessarily just the name that pops up with it, but the full email address can often be a giveaway if you're dealing with a credible source.
Yeah. So some things to look for. Again, is there a demand in an email for urgent action or a threatening of a consequence? Send us this money, you'll be arrested. Send us the money, we will report you to collections. That is one of the first red flags. Bad grammar or spelling mistakes.
Yeah.
Now, I know a lot of people that email with very poor grammar and spelling mistakes, but often be looking for...
Some of these are exceptionally bad.
Be looking for words that do not make sense in a sentence.
Sure.
A lot of times these initiate from different countries.
Yep.
They are not from within the United States, and therefore you will notice the verbiage in a sentence may be off. That's a big red flag. Mm-hmm. What else?
It's attachments. Definitely be very, very weary and cautious about attachments coming from an email address that is unfamiliar to you or that just seems odd, because that's often one of the easiest ways that you can get malware on your computer, which is not ideal by any means. Mm-hmm. And so, look for attachments that are .zip, .exe, .scr. Those are pretty common ones. And whatever you do, if it's not something that you trust, please do not click the attachment.
Yeah, or are not expecting.
Yeah.
Or not expecting. Yep. I would put this one on the list too. Does it start with an unfamiliar greeting? And, you could say, well, there are all sorts of greetings that can be used. Is this from someone that you know? Because I can recognize email greetings from people that...
Sure, yeah.
People that I know, from clients. Very often will an email start with dear.
Right.
Not typically. So if I see one that says dear, or in my case, very few people call me Charles. You do, our mom and dad do. That's about it.
Yep.
So I often know that if somebody just sends me an email, hello, Charles, that if it's not a scam, it's just somebody trying to sell me something. Mm-hmm. But does it start with an unfamiliar greeting? Are you being asked for login credentials? Are you being asked for payment information or sensitive data just via email?
Yep.
Huge red flags.
And even if you are corresponding with someone who you trust, be very wary of sending your own personal information through an email, unless it is secure and encrypted and you have the confidence in that side of it. But Sending your social security number through an email, not the best idea. Even your date of birth, any personal identifying information for you, just give the person a call and give them that information over the phone.
Yeah. So we've talked about some very basic things, but important things, and that we all may lose sight of from time to time that you can do. What else can be done to protect ourselves, protect yourself if you're listening or watching this podcast? What can you do? What are some proactive steps that you can take?
In my opinion, this should be number one, putting a credit freeze on. Both yours and your spouse's and your kids' information. What does a credit freeze do? A credit freeze is one of the surefire ways to prevent someone from opening up new accounts in your name without you knowing. It is a little bit of a hassle because if you want to sign up for a Disney card or TJ Maxx for that one-time savings that they'll get you on that, you have a freeze on your credit. They're not going to be able to run it, and they're not going to give you the access to that card and that benefit. But
unless you take it off.
Yeah, correct. You can lift them, and this is what you'll have to do. If you're going to get a new car, you're getting a mortgage, you have to temporarily lift it, and that's where you always want to make sure the companies are Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. And you have to do it for all three. You can't just do it for one. Mm-hmm. Keep a copy of your login and the password or a PIN number that they may give you, because that's what you're going to need when you have to go in and lift the freeze temporarily. Yeah. If you forget all that stuff, it's going to make it a much bigger task because you're going to have to figure out the login or the PIN, and you're not going to be able to lift that freeze anytime soon. But it's the one surefire way to prevent bad actors from opening new accounts or credit cards in your name.
And it's not that difficult. I've done it multiple times.
And it's free.
And
it didn't used to be. I think they recently
made it free
the past couple of years.
Some of the credit reporting sites themselves got hacked, and they had to make it free to be able to do it. But it is not that difficult. I have lifted the credit freezes on Liz's and my name multiple times.
Yeah, I just did it
over the last couple of years as we have needed it. And you can set it so that it will automatically refreeze within a period of time. So typically I'll give it 10 days and say, all right, 10 days from now, it automatically goes back on. And there have been times where I have been blocked from something or not allowed, because we've had a freeze on. Yep. And they say, well, we can't do it. And then the light bulb goes on.
But that's the whole point of it.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
I mean, it's a minor inconvenience to make sure that no one out there is opening accounts and running up credit and debt in your name that you aren't aware of.
Because what can happen is the alternative is if somebody were to open a credit card in your account, that is added to your credit report, your credit score.
Getting that information taken
off is a nightmare.
Yeah.
So just the ounce of prevention is definitely worth the pound of cure in this scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Be skeptical.
Yes.
It's okay to be skeptical. Are you expecting the email you just received? Are you? Is this from someone that never emailed you? Are you expecting the Facebook message that is from someone that you have not spoken to in 10 years?
Yep.
Does that seem out of the ordinary? Well, if so, it probably is.
And when it seems too good to be true, it probably is. And we should all probably operate under the assumption that everybody out there already has our social security number and our dates of birth.
Yeah, they probably
do. It's likely out there, and that's where, if you go back to, I think it was episode 45.
It is.
Where we talked a little bit more about a credit freeze. Again, assuming that people out there already have your information, it's the smartest way to protect yourself and your financial position.
Yeah, and don't hesitate to reach out to someone else if you get an email or get a Facebook message or message on social media that seems too good to be true or is asking you to click on a link, because often people don't know when they have been hacked or when someone else has gained access to their account. So don't hesitate to reach out to them, ideally using a different method of contact to say, hey, I just got this from you. Did you really send that?
Right.
I've done that to my wife before. Say, did you really just send me that message? And she said, yeah. Okay. All right. It's just, we don't usually correspond via Facebook message, but she saw something that was interesting and just sent me the link.
Yeah, there you go.
I said, okay. Yep. So I then sent the money to the Nigerian prince, and I still am waiting for the payment back.
Well, maybe soon.
That was a joke, by the way. We'll
As
just
Griffin
clarify.
would say, maybe soon.
Maybe soon. Maybe soon. So we will be back maybe soon next week. As always, we can be reached, Wade Group at BrightonSecurities.com, at Wade Into Wealth on all of the social media sites. And we do appreciate you being with us. Back next week. Thanks.